there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel and thank you for joining me for Stretch the Sketch. This month we are working with sketch number 128 from Sketchabilities and Karen Garber. And I really like this sketch. It's mixed media and it's got a shelf and a wall. It's that L design. And I am going to start by using these photos from my kids at a 4-H puppet project meeting. Lots of blues and yellows in these photos, and so I am going to use blue and yellow on this layout. Now I know I'm going to be using these frames, and so I am going to be adding some mixed media to those down the road, but first of all I am figuring out where to align my photos, and I'm just marking it out there with a pencil, and I'm going to end up taking my T-square ruler to put a horizontal line across my page so I know where the shelf is going to reside and where my photos are going to align. I am going to cover those two pieces of white cardstock with clear gesso from Art Basics or Prima, and this paper is just plain old white cardstock from Joann's. It is not thick. It does curl and it does warp. But at the time when I did this layout, I was out of mixed media paper and marshmallow paper, so that's why I'm using this paper, so just by necessity. Now, you see me there with my Nuvo drops, and I don't use these hardly ever. I mean, I probably haven't used them in a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And I toyed with the idea of getting rid of them, and I was talking to my mom about it because we scrapbook a lot together and we share supplies a lot, and she doesn't use them a whole lot either. And then we came up with the idea of possibly trying them as a mixed media component. So I am putting them through a stencil, and it works out great. Because this stencil is such a small dot pattern, they actually dry relatively quickly, and there's a nice glossy sheen to them, and I really like the way that it came out. So if you have Nuvo drops that you don't use often, try using them for some mixed media and see what you think. And if you do, drop me a note down below and let me know what you think of it and if you think this is a good use for it. I think I'm going to end up keeping them just because I can use them for this purpose, and I have them in a ton of colors that I don't have other mixed media product in, and because they went through the stencil so well. And while I finish up the mixed media here, I wanted to remind you that there's a whole bunch of us playing along with this month's edition of Stretch the Sketch. So check out the links down below in my comments and go check out all of the other fabulously talented ladies that are participating. We are all stretching this 12 by 12 sketch into various sizes. Some of us are shrinking it, some of us are making it larger. So don't forget to go and check out the other ladies and see what everyone does. Now I'm going to go ahead and use some Heidi Swapp Color Shine in yellow to brighten up the background because I don't want it to be just these two swatches of mixed media. I want to add some color and I want to brighten things up. And you're going to see that I've missed a couple of places in my gesso coverage, and the color shine goes through and the water goes through up there on in the middle of the right hand page, and then there's a spot in the mixed media area on the other page. But once it's all done, it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. I mean, if I missed a huge swatch, it would warp my paper a whole lot more. In this case, it's small enough that it doesn't make a big difference, and the yellow kind of just soaks in those areas and gives it a nice bright yellow color to it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off the 3 of the edges of this paper, and I'm going to back it with a navy blue. And I'm only doing the 3 edges because I want the center of the double page layout to marry up to one another without a gap or without any of the blue. So, and that is why I'm actually trimming this blue down, and you can see there this blue paper this is just some cardstock. I don't use cardstock often, and this paper is not very good quality, and my paper trimmer ripped it. I probably need a new blade as well, but my paper trimmer primarily ripped it because it was a really poor quality paper. I don't typically use that as part of my layout except in this manner, so I don't worry about it too much. I know I want to put a good coverage of adhesive on the back to help hold that paper down. Now I've gone off screen for just a moment to take my papers over to my sewing machine and put some stitching along those same lines. You can see the vertical and horizontal lines, and I've done that in navy blue, and that's just with a regular sewing machine. It works great, and I know that the sketch has that same stitching effect in it, so I want to go ahead and mimic that. And I really like the texture that it gives, and it kind of just adds to that shelf look. So I'm going to prep these frames to go on the layout, and I'm going to use some glitter paste from Bo Bunny. I am checking out where I'm going to put this little border strip before I do the mixed media, because I want to make sure that I don't cover it completely and that I have a place for it to reside. And that little border strip is just from a Bella Boulevard cut apart sheet, or actually a sticker sheet. It's not a cut apart, it's a sticker sheet. And it goes perfectly. It does have a little bit of a pink flower in it as well, and I'm okay with it having some pink because there's some pink in the photos. In fact, my son is using a pink flamingo marionette there, so it's no problem. And I'm just spanning the gap there behind the photos because I only have one 12-inch strip of that border. So I know I want to use it in multiple places, and that's a good way to make sure that you have enough to put on more than one spot. So here I go with the glitter paste, and I think I'm using blueberry and lemonade. And I'm not being real precise about putting it on. I am just smudging it all over, and I'm putting it on pretty thick, especially on the blue one, because there is a pink flower in the bottom right hand corner of the frame, and I really don't want that to show. So this is going to be kind of a messy, it's a messy look. It's a messy process as well. Let's not leave that part out. It is pretty messy, especially since I've cut the center out of the paper because there were other frames that I didn't want to get covered in this glitter paste. But I'm embracing the messy look because, well, mixed media does have a messy look to it, so it's totally fine with me. And once I get these two frames done, I realize that I want a third frame, so you will see me go back and do a third frame as well. Some of my glitter paste had gotten a little bit thick on the edges, and I'm just mixing it up with I think it's like a hat pin or a safety pin, and a little bit of water, and that'll keep it fresh for the next time. Now this blue paper, I am backing the photos that are not going to be framed, and this particular wavy paper works out really well because between the border sheet or the background paper that I've used that's blue and the mixed media, there's a couple of different shades of blue, and this kind of just ties it all together. And my son is wearing some camouflage blue shorts in the photo, so totally matches. And you're not seeing a ton of the paper anyway, it's just giving you the illusion of the blue along the edge. From afar it looks like a solid, so because only a tiny bit of it's showing. So I'm going to back these photos, and the other ones are getting frames, and I do, like I said, add a third frame, and so one of those pictures that I've backed with the border will end up with a frame on it. So I'm going to go ahead and check things out, make sure everything's going to line where I want them, and I know I can't put the outer photos on until I get the inner photos on, because that frame's going to take up more room than just the photo without a frame. I usually have a really difficult time using frames, so this was kind of my own challenge to myself. And there is not a frame in the sketch, so if you decide to use this sketch and stretch it, don't feel like you have to put a frame. It's just something that I kind of wanted to challenge myself to use because it's not something that I do frequently. Okay, this is where I decide I want to add a third frame because things look a little bit too matchy-matchy to me. I know the frames are different colors, but I'm using the second from the outermost photo on both sides, and it just looks too matchy-matchy, and my eye doesn't really know which one to look at because there are two of them and they're equally distanced apart. It's kind of just confusing to my eye. So if I add a third one, then it just seems like it brings things into more focus, like my eye kind of looks at the overall picture rather than trying to look at the right or the left and trying to choose between the two. So I am going to do this frame up in yellow and blue, so it will have a yellow border around it and then a blue strip down one side. And that frame does say love on it down the side, but the yellow covers it up pretty well, and I don't really mind if it kind of peeks through a little bit anyway, because that's just, it just adds to the layout, and it doesn't say anything that doesn't go with the layout. I mean, I love my kids and I love that they were enjoying this project, so it works out great. Now I play around where I want the photos to reside. I kind of move them around a little bit, and I end up going back to the same order that they're in currently. And you're going to see that here in just a second as I move things around and just kind of figure out, do I want the taller one in the middle? But no, I end up going back with the original, but I really like the way it came out. And then you see me rotate that little frame so that the blue kind of breaks up the two yellow frames. And I really like how that looks. It just gives it some more visual interest. I am going to trim down this right-hand photo just a little bit to provide a little more focus on my son. I'm cutting out some of the excess stuff that doesn't really need to be there. It doesn't add anything to the photo or to the story. So just trimming it down, making it a little smaller, and so that it's not exactly the same size as the framed photos. I think with it all in a row like this, it's either better to have them all the same size or all slightly different. When half of them are lined up perfectly and the other half are all various sizes, it just makes it awkward. So that was another reason for trimming it down a little bit. It was just a little bit on the wrong size. So I'm also popping up this little tiny one on some craft foam, just the cheap craft foam from Walmart, and that's going to just add a little bit more dimension and a little more visual interest to that one photo. Adding some of the tonic not embellishment mousse, I'm sorry, tonic deluxe adhesive to the border strip because it's on top of mixed media. Anytime you're using mixed media, it's a really good idea to use some liquid glue because the other tape runners don't really hold quite as well to the mixed media portions. So that's why everything's getting a little bit of liquid glue. And then I wanted to go ahead and add that little border strip under the yellow because the yellow is such a light color. I thought it needed a little extra something something, and I think the border strip just really helped pop it up and it gave it a little bit of a shelf to live on. And now I'm using some Freckled Fawn puffy stickers, puffy letter stickers, and I'm noticing that on my sticker sheet that they come on, they're starting to curl a little bit. I've had them for quite a while, and so those are definitely going to get some liquid glue. Even if they weren't on mixed media, I would be using some liquid glue on them. Now these stickers do not come with any numbers, so I have taken a letter H, flipped it upside down, and trimmed it to be a 4. So it's just going to read 4-H puppets. And I think it works out really well with the yellow on top of the blue. And that is going to be my title. I'm not adding anything really exciting beyond that as far as the title work. This is just the first puppet meeting that my kids were in for 4-H, and they really enjoyed it. They were in this project for quite a while. So now I've pulled out a whole bunch of different yellow and blue embellishments out of my boxes that are sorted by color, and I'm going to start embellishing. I've got some tabs on the upper left-hand side and on the lower right-hand side. I'm kind of going with a bit of a diagonal embellishment pattern here. So everything's going to start at the upper left and end at the bottom right. and there will be a little bit in the middle as well. And that's just going to take your eye from one side all the way to the other side of the layout. And I like to pop things up on dimensional adhesive. It's even these tabs, just the outermost edge of them will be popped up. The other portion will be adhered underneath each photo. A lot of these embellishments are really old. I don't really know where I got them from. I have most of my embellishments sorted by color, and I know some of these have been in my stash for many years, especially that tab that says OMG on it and has pink in the center of the O. I've had that for many, many years. So if you're looking to find out where I got them from, I'm not really sure. I do like having things sorted by color because then it's easy for me to just go to that particular box and sort through it and figure out which few things I want to pull out. And this little tiny chipboard tab it's a blue wood grain with a yellow star on it, has been in my stash for ages. And I don't know where it's from, but I am so glad to get it out of my box and onto this layout. And I think it works out great. I've struggled with using it several times over the years, and it's never made the cut on any of my layouts. So happy to have it on there. Now these star stickers, puffy stickers, I believe those are by Bella Boulevard, and those are going to get some liquid glue underneath all of them as well, just like everything else is. And then I'm going to add some sequins. These are just really large blue sequins, and then you can see the bag of orange, white, and yellow ones there. Those came in a bag, I think they were from Prima, and so I'm just using the same deluxe adhesive from Tonic to adhere yellow and blue sequins down. And that's going to take us pretty close to the end of the layout. So stick around at the end and check out the close-ups and see what you think of that Tonic or the Nuvo drops through the stencil. You can see them a lot better through the close-ups. So let me know what you think of those, and then go and check out the other ladies. Don't forget to do that. So we do this particular Stretch the Sketch challenge monthly. It's usually the third Sunday of the month, and we all have a lot of fun. Our lineup of ladies varies monthly, so whoever can participate participates, and we really enjoy it, and we really enjoy having you here. So check it out. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and to give a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.